and we're roaring in here. Dr. Adam Broda, you look sharp as a tack as usual. How are you feeling? How's everything going?
You know what? I'm feeling pretty good. Hey, Marcus, I'm seeing your question there over on Fight TV, and you're asking if we see if any bare knuckle organizations will be coming to the West Coast, like Vegas or California. Yeah, I mean, they will be, but anytime in the very near future, no. They're dealing with the commissions. The only way that's going to happen is if they get in on one of the Indian reservations that's usually booked out about 2 years in advance. So, I mean, there's always exceptions to this, so there's a possibility it could happen, but do I see it happening anytime soon? Quite frankly, I think UFC and Bellator have kind of got a stranglehold on everything, and they're kind of trying to choke these bare knuckle organizations out and keep them out from performing too much and competing with them on weekends. Now, in the pay-per-view world, a majority of these people don't like competing against each other anyways. They all try to get stuff on different dates for when they book things, but yeah, in order for them to get it to make it work, you know, they've got to find a weekend that nobody else is on pay-per-view. And then they've got to make sure that they can get that weekend free. And these reservations usually have stuff booked out for concerts so far in advance.
Yeah,
that's the big issue.
I think that, I mean, both are big issues. And just to kind of dovetail on what you're saying, the sanctioning is a big issue. The head of the premier bare knuckles organization out there, David Feldman from the BKFC, Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, did mention that he does believe it could take a couple of years, perhaps, to get sanctioning all over the country. I think right now they're sanctioning for bare knuckles boxing in 3 or 4 years. In 3 or 4 states only.
Yeah, so there's 3 officially,
5, maybe
4 as of next year. No, I think a 5th one as of next year.
Right.
They officially announced Kansas recently. So
right, but the big ones at California, Vegas could be coming toward the end. What do you think, Doc?
I don't see them for quite a while, honestly. 3, 4, 5 years out. Now there's Indian reservations, and there's a couple of them that are known for putting on fights. We went to one with and watched Invicta.
Right.
Tachi Palace is one of the ones that they could go ahead and do right now
up in Lemoore,
and I could see that one happening soon. But the booking is always, and the scheduling is always an issue. So we've got to look at that. And
very true. That out. Sorry to step in your words, but realizing on booking and scheduling, we got our guy staying up late.
Yep, 100%. I was about to say something. If you want to, we can go ahead and
let's do it. Let's make it happen. We'll hear that great Skype tone. It's funny. I was talking to someone else and hearing a Skype tone, and I didn't recognize what it was. And I'm like, wait a second, what is that? There it is. Hey, James, can you hear me?
Hello.
Excellent.
What's up?
Perfect. We got you with audio. All we need you to do is hit that video button that looks like a camera, and then we will have video, and we'll be rocking and rolling. So there you go, right there. So you're not going to be able to see us, but you can see yourself in the square, and whatever you can stay in there. That'd be awesome. I'll give you a proper introduction here, and then we'll be rocking. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really excited to have this next guest on the show. He is someone that not only do fans really cheer for, but fighters and managers and a lot of people really look up to this man. We are talking about UFC welterweight contender, the man they call the James Krause. And welcome to the show, James Krause, man. Glad to have you with us.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. My
pleasure. So you are in Brazil right now, man. I want to thank you so much for staying up late with us.
No worries, man. It was a weird deal like that. I slept like minutes on the plane right here, so I didn't want to commit to it and then just like be in a coma right now, and you guys call me and think I shook you or something like that. So I'm good now. I'm wide awake. Let's we can get this rolling.
Absolutely. I really appreciate it, man. Thanks for looking out too. Not everyone appreciates the media, and so getting some respect is always a cool thing from UFC fighters, and thank you for that, man. Yeah, there's some action going on this Saturday in Sao Paulo, Brazil. You will be going up against Sergio Moraes. Have you fought in Brazil before, or have you ever been there before?
No, that's by design. I typically when you go out of country, you're looking at like a 15 to 30% increase on your tax there because you typically get double taxed. Brazil, however, just lifted that tax. So I've been offered probably like 6 or 7 fights here. I just don't ever. I don't really want to travel across the take a pay cut. This doesn't sound like a good deal for me.
Understandable, especially since you've been in the UFC for a while and you keep winning. You have a 5-fight win streak going, and the one before that was just a split decision. So you haven't lost a fight in 5 years, and we understand that you definitely don't need to be trying to have less money and less benefits thrown at you. So, but you're there. I'm glad they lifted that, because we definitely want fighters to be making as much as they can. So you got Sergio Moraes. You're fighting a Brazilian in Brazil. Have you done that? I think you've been a road warrior in the past, and do you recall your experience as far as fighting guys in their hometown, or is this going to be a first?
Yeah, I mean, my debut was against Sam Stout in Canada on short notice. So I mean, I'm no stranger to going to other people's hometowns and beating them up. So, man, at the end of the day, the way I look at it is like when we get locked in that cage, whether we're in Kansas City or Sao Paulo or Antarctica, it doesn't really matter, because when that cage door closes and they lock that door, those people can't help him. They can't help me. It's him and I in there, and we have 15 minutes or less to figure each other out. And the only factor that I feel like that plays into is maybe, especially in Brazil, it's been a little shady. I don't know, maybe not shady, but questionable in the past.
Yeah.
I just got to be honest with you. It's my responsibility. I knew that taking this fight, it's my responsibility not let that be a factor. So I took this fight knowing that could be an issue, and I also took this fight knowing that I needed to finish. So that's on me. That's not anyone else. I'm very aware of what needs to be done to win this fight. I have to brutally dominate or finish to get that nod.
Absolutely. Has Sergio Moraes been someone that's been on your radar in the past, and if so, how long, or did you just kind of take notice of him when this fight was signed?
Well, I'm a huge fan of the sport. Outside of competing myself, I've known Sergio since the Ultimate Fighter, so I'm no stranger to him. My teammate Zack Cummings has been offered to fight him twice, and Sergio got hurt once and Zack got hurt once, so they never fought each other. But Sergio is actually supposed to fight this last fight when I fought Worley Alves instead. Something happened with visa issues, or I'm not sure. So I was supposed to fight him. That was originally the fight I accepted, and something happened within the visa issues. They gave me Worley. I beat Worley, and then this fight just got thrown my way again. I like it. It's a new matchup. It's different for me. Typically, I feel like the crowd in the UFC would classify me as a striker. I think one of my best benefits is I have the ability to go anywhere, and I'm an MMA fighter. I'm good everywhere, and but I will say they don't typically match me up with great grapplers. So it's a new. I'm really excited about it. It's kind of got me on edge a little bit. It's a new puzzle piece for me to figure out. I feel like with another one of my great assets is the ability to figure things out on the fly with fight IQ. So I'm really excited to just kind of have this new little shiny object that I have to try out and test out, and obviously make sure my game is on point to get the win on Saturday.
I like what I'm hearing on that. I know that your fight IQ is something that many people really do throw out there as being one of the best in the welterweight division. And may I ask, all the traveling you do to support your teammates and the fact that you're coaching people and you're really out there, I'm betting that probably has helped you, because you learn while you teach. Isn't that true?
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, yeah, I'm surrounded by. I watch fights. I can't tell. I watch every single card. And not just UFC. I watch all the Bellators. I watch ONE FC. I watch boxing. I watch the Bellator kickboxing. I watch the jiu-jitsu competition. So I mean, I'm a diehard of the sport too. I'm not just a competitor. Right. I am a high level fan as well. So, yeah, man, I've been coaching for a long time. I've been coaching way before I should have been, and I just think I have over 60 fights, pro and amateur. I've been doing this, I call it, since the Wild West days, to where there was really no, it wasn't really super organized. Like, whenever I started doing it, a lot of times you would just weigh in and they'd be like, this guy's 165, this guy's 177, that works. Like, I've done that before. I've been a part of that era. And I just have experience in coaching and in competing. And I've seen so many different fights that, what the hell just happened? Or I've seen so many different scenarios play out. I mean, you guys know how crazy the sport is. And I've seen all those different things play out. So I feel like the experience that I have, not just with competing, but with coaching, definitely helps IQ, and I also think I'm able to like clearly see these things as they're happening. You know, I'm hard to shake in there. You know what I mean? Like I'm hard to get flustered in there. So I think that's one of my best assets is to see those things on the fly and see them fast. You know, not
Yeah.
adjustments, but see the things happen as they unfold.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really important, having that vision. It's almost like a baseball player that has like extra good eyesight. They can kind of slow the ball down when it's coming at them, even though it's 100 miles an hour, and make those adjustments. And so, yeah, I was talking to a previous guest, I think a week or two ago, about being able to make adjustments in there. And that, I think, a lot of people don't know is one of the hardest things, because when you're under fire and all the bullets are flying proverbially with all the fists and all the kicks and all the grappling, to be able to make those adjustments in there is really, really important. And I think only the better fighters do that. And, you know, being a cerebral fighter and being a student of the game is really important, all the way back to Mike Tyson. And this is going back before a lot of our viewers' time, but I remember that when I was real young, I was a big boxing fan, that he was known as being student in the game. He was watching like boxing footage from like 1920 and 1930. And
yeah, you would consider him a historian. He was super knowledgeable of the, because Macedo made him watch it.
Yes, right. Yep. And he would be like, what I think he was, his biggest idol was Jack Dempsey from the 19-teens and the 1920s.
Yeah, he was a huge fan of the sport as well, not just the competitor.
Yeah.
Part of it, right? You almost have to be semi-obsessed with the game, right? I mean,
yeah.
Some people can pull off, like Cowboy's a guy that doesn't watch fights and stuff like that, but for the most part, I feel like you have to be obsessed with it to some degree to see some success.
Absolutely so. Now, your teammate Zack Cummings moved to 185. We've had him on the show a couple times. He's a great guy. I think 85 is a good fit for him. But you stay at 70. I don't recall if you've ever been anywhere other than that. Usually maybe in early fights out of the UFC, people fought somewhere else. But remind us, have you been at 170 in every organization, or have you been at various weights?
No, I just moved to 170. My last fight was my first fight at 170. Well, I've had 2 fights at 170 in the UFC. Pretty much my whole career I spent at 155. So
oh wow!
I just came up. And 55 was a really difficult cut for me to make. And but yeah, I just came up for permanently. I just came up recently.
Very cool. It's almost like you and Zack moved at a similar time. You to welterweight and him to middleweight.
Exact same time, actually.
I like that.
We moved at the exact same time.
And that was probably by design, as the two of you wanted to not. Be
no, not really. No? Not really. He had just recently fought. I can't remember who he fought. But he did at 70, man. It's too much of a cut.
Yeah.
It's not just like for me it's more of a quality of life thing. For him it's more of like physically he just is dog shit at 70, man. Like his cuts, like he's almost killing himself. And I'm not even exaggerating. Quite literally he's almost killing himself to make 70. And it just seems like it's like half the time he doesn't make it in the fight because he either gets hurt or something happens. It's like, man, like what's the point of all this if you can't even make it to the fight? So like size doesn't matter if you don't ever fight, you know?
Yep.
And for me, it's just a quality of life thing. Like I just hate my life. Like if I fight 3 times a year, it takes me 2 months to get to 155, you know, and I hate everybody. I hate everybody. I hate everything. And like that's just no way to live.
Yeah. It's not
70 I can just work, man.
I agree.
I just put my head down and work at 170.
Absolutely. I think that's a better thing that we're seeing more of than we used to. I think like 5 years ago, everyone was killing themselves to make as light a weight as they can, and more people were missing weight. Right now, it seems to be the trend is changing, and more people are realizing it's not a good thing. I mean, can I ask, in your opinion, is that because of fighters and coaches realizing it on their own, or is the fact that some of these commissions are saying if you weigh higher than a certain weight on fight day, we're gonna not let you fight, and then we're gonna insist you go up a division? Is some of it just kind of from that by force, or do you think a lot of fighters are kind of
No, I don't think so at all.
Okay.
I think it's all choice, man. The guys are tired of feeling like shit all week. You know what I mean? Like I'm eating good dinner. I mean, you can check my Instagram story. I'm eating good dinners. I had a big plate of sushi tonight. Like it's not just the week. It's not just the cut. It's the quality of life leading up to it. And like one of the decisions that really, there's multiple examples that made us sway the decision, but we're talking like 3 weeks out from a fight. I don't even want to train. You know, I just want to go home. I don't want to be there. And at 55, I'll catch myself in fights like looking up at the clock because I'm getting tired. I'm trying to pace the fight.
Yeah.
And at 70, man, these guys are bigger, but they're slower. They're stronger, but I can work, man. I can work. I don't get tired at 70. I can just keep working for 15 minutes or less. And like when I fought Worley, I was not tired a little bit. I can just work, man. And that's what I like about it. I know I'm not a small 70, I don't think.
No.
I mean, I was 195 and a half a couple weeks ago.
Right. Absolutely. That's what I was thinking as well. And by the way, congratulations on that win against Worley. Worley's been killing it just like you have. And, you know, that was your second fight at 70 or your first?
So I fought Tom Galicchio at 170 after the show, and then I went back to 55, and then I went back one time and I fought like shit. I looked terrible, and then I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna go back up to 170. So I went back up to 170 and fought Worley, and I felt great in that fight. Yeah,
and that's fantastic. And that was a fight that definitely anyone could have won because both of you have been on a good streak. And so that was impressive. And so, yeah, I think 70 is the right place for you. So you're doing a lot of coaching. You're doing a lot of traveling. You're a fighter with a winning record. You're a ranked fighter, and you're still out there definitely helping and coaching. Were you saying that it's something you're not sure you should be doing, or do you think are you kind of having to back off of that as far as how much coaching and help you're giving, or is that something you can continue?
No, I continue to stay coaching. I mean, I come out to Denver with my coach a couple of times, but I mean, I have good people that back at my gym. But no, I mean, I stay. I want to be a coach. I'm a coach after this, so I'm a coach now. But I mean, you know, I plan on going full time into coaching as soon as I'm done fighting, whenever that may be. I stay on the road. I'm on the road almost every weekend, and the thing is like I feel like people are just now starting to ask me that, and it's like for me, people are. I think what you're asking is like, do you feel like that's a hindrance, like being on the road every weekend?
Right.
Man, I've been doing that shit for like 4 or 5 years now. It's just now I'm starting to get some more accolades from coaching. Like people are starting to notice that I'm a decent coach.
Yes.
So now people are just starting to ask me. But I've been doing this for a long time. You know what I mean? Like I've been coaching on every weekend for a long time now. So it's nothing new to me. You know what I mean? It's just I've been doing this pretty much since I've been in the UFC. You know,
Very cool.
People are just now starting to notice because I'm starting to coach other people in the UFC.
Right. That makes sense. You've been doing it for a while. It's good to hear. You were over in Boston a few weeks ago. I was there covering it for MMA Power Hour. Funny thing I saw was, remember when they asked your guy, Sean Woodson, what Shamrock FC did for him? So what it does for people watching is a great reporter who will remain nameless and you know, known for very good questions. This time I think maybe he wasn't phrased perfectly, but he asked one of James' teammates, Sean Woodson, what Shamrock FC, an organization the guy had fought him before, had done to help him, you know, and he said Shamrock FC hasn't done shit for me. And I think James was
saying, they haven't, man. I don't want to talk down to anybody. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to out anybody.
Yeah.
But those dudes aren't trying to help anybody. You know what I mean? Like, they're a business, bro. Like, I'm in Kansas City. They're based out of Kansas City and St. Louis.
Yeah.
I deal with those guys all the time. They are not out to help anybody except themselves.
Right.
And for anybody that says otherwise, and look, man, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
But let's call a spade a spade. You know what I mean? Don't act like these guys are out here.
Right.
Helping. I love James. James is the one that asked that. I love him.
Yes.
And he does a lot of stuff with them. They throw him a lot of bones. You know what I mean? So I get it. I get what he was trying to do. And I don't mean anything bad about it, but I just want to, let's call it a 1-on-1 and a 2-2. You know what I mean? Like you're not trying to help anybody. You're trying to have a business, and that's okay.
Yep. Exactly.
You know, let's not kid here.
No.
You guys are a business and you're trying to make money, which is fine.
Yes.
But let's just call it that.
Absolutely. I agree. And maybe what he meant more to say was, were they instrumental in, but then again, with the fact that, like you said, they're throwing him bones, there was probably him wanting to throw them out there anyway. But yeah, the perfect response, and you fell from the sitting position to on your side there. It was really funny to see there.
I did.
Yeah.
I fell over.
That was hilarious.
Over,
but man, your guy Woodson, man, that's a tough kid. And it's funny too, he's such kind of an easygoing guy, and he's got almost like a little bit like a dad bod. And I remember some of the other media people were saying, this guy looks like just someone's little brother, or he's just happy to be here. He probably doesn't care if he wins or loses, and he's probably about to get smashed by Bosniak. No. And man, this guy's a beast, Woodson, isn't he?
Yeah, he's an animal, man. He's long, good takedown defense. He's got great boxing. His volume is insane. His range is ridiculous. Like, yeah, he's incredible. That kid's gonna be really tough to beat.
Absolutely. And so you're based in Kansas City, and I know Invicta's over there. I know that you have Megan who fought there a lot, and do you still check out Invicta, or was that only when Megan was with them?
No, they're based out of KC. I support Invicta 100%. Their shows are always fantastic. I don't have a lot of girls at my gym. I have a couple different amateurs outside of Megan, but I don't really have a lot of my own fighters on that show, just because I don't have that many girls. I have a couple girls going pro soon. I'm sure they'll fight for Invicta at some point. I just don't. I support them 100%. I love Invicta. I would do anything for them. Them and I did some like post-fight interview stuff for him before. Shannon is an incredible job. She's done such a good job building that organization up to what it is today. But I 100% support Invicta. Love what they're doing. Love everything about what they're doing. And I'm very, very happy that they're in Kansas City.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish they were closer here. I'm in California. We went out and saw them live and covered it when they were in Lemoore, California, a couple of years ago. But I've been big with women MMA guests. That's one of the things, is that I think I may have more women UFC fighters and Invicta fighters on my show than most other shows. And so no, I appreciate that organization, and Shannon is doing a great job. And you know, we had Caitlin Young on when she was a matchmaker, and we talked to Julie Kedzie, and you know, just great people there. Speaking of your teammates, anyone other than you have a fight coming up you'd like to shout out?
Yeah, Grant Dawson is fighting January 18th on the I believe it's Vegas. I don't know if they've decided that yet or not, but I believe it's going to be Vegas. Zack Cummings is on that card as well. I don't think that's been announced yet, but he's on that card as well. So we have a whole squad on that January card.
Excellent. And what's your team? What's the name of your gym?
Glory.
Glory. Yep. Glory. And it's not Glory Kickboxing. Glory MMA, of course, right?
Yep.
Fantastic. So, James, tell us a little bit about your background, man. How did you get into MMA? I'm sure enough people know about it, but did you start in kind of all the combat sports together, like a lot of these young guys are doing? You're still a young guy enough, you know, compared to me, but you know, a lot of these guys now are going to gyms and are learning the wrestling at the same time as the jiu-jitsu, and the same time as the striking. But most of the guys who are like 25, 28, 30 years old did not do that. How did you come into combat sports? What made you jump into combat sports? What was your background, and what elements of combat did you start studying first?
I didn't really have a background. I wrestled a little bit in high school for like 2 years. I don't think I ever finished a season. I sucked. I wasn't good. But I started in MMA, you know, just doing kind of everything all together. And I just got into it. It's something that I had a friend kind of talked me into coming and checking out a gym, and man, I just showed up and I fell in love with it. I never really left. And I really love everything about the sport. And I always appreciated like the ultimate challenge. It's made me, the sport of MMA has made me such a better human being and a man. Like, the sport will make you a man. You know what I mean? Like, there really isn't a whole lot of time. There really isn't a big place for immaturity in the sport. You know what I mean? Like, so like, this sport is full of heartbreak. It's got so many life lessons, highs and the lowest lows. And that's cliche to say, but it is so true. So I feel like this sport has kind of made me a man and molded me into the person I am today. And yeah, I mean, I just fell in love with it. You know, I fell in love with everything about it, the life lessons that come with it, the hard work, the sacrifice, the reward, everything that comes with the sport of MMA. And as a fan, you know, I really fell in love with it as a practitioner of jiu-jitsu and kickboxing and wrestling. And I just love everything about the sport.
That's awesome. And that's it kind of makes for a better life. They say if you like what you're doing or you love what you're doing, then it's not like you're not going to work every day. You're doing something you enjoy. Do you remember the first year or the first UFC that you watched?
UFC 1, yeah.
Wow.
I watched. I rented it. I think I would have been 7 years old. I rented it at the movie store.
Wow.
Had no idea what it was. Movie store.
And so yeah, so you were 7. Well, about 23 years ago, 22 years ago.
So the UFC started in '93. Is that right?
Yeah, it did. But I know you weren't.
93. I was born in 86. So that's 7.
Oh wow, I
That's 7
didn't
years
know
old.
that. I didn't know that you were saying you actually rented it and when it came out. Man, that's crazy because you know I'm older.
Yeah.
I'm older than you, and I actually did order that pay-per-view. A friend of mine was training with the Gracies from the late '80s in their garage. I had a copy of the press kit for UFC 1.
Wow.
Yeah, 3 months before the event. And
I didn't know anything about it. I seen it at this movie store, and I was like, oh, this looks really cool. I loved one of my favorite movies growing up was Lionheart with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yes.
So I was like, oh man, this looks kind of close. Let me watch this. And then I just fell in love with it. And they would just keep, UFC 1, UFC 2, 3, 4 days. I would rent them every time.
Did you have any idea, though, watching then? And for those that don't know, the sport was very different than it is now. When it was NHB, no holds barred fighting, it was only heavyweights, and it was no gloves, headbutts. There was, it was real true valet tudo rules. And I can imagine probably at 7, 8, or 9 years old, it would have been very unusual for anyone to know they wanted to do it. But did you have any inkling that this or something like you were seeing would be what you'd be doing as an adult?
Not a clue. No. Honestly, even when I was doing it and when I was saying it, like I know a lot of people that, man, I'm just from a different area. And to be honest with you, when it comes to like Kansas City MMA, there's guys that were in the UFC before me. Don't get me wrong. Like Curtis Stout was the first one. Rob Cummings was the first one to win in the UFC. But like, there really wasn't a blueprint on how to get there. And I feel like I kind of set that in Kansas City. So like, I would say it a lot, like, "Hey, I'm gonna be in the UFC one day," but I didn't know how. I didn't even know anybody in the UFC, honestly. And what really like made it hit home close to home was when Tim Elliott joined my gym, and we would train together. My main training partner as a 125er, and I was his as a 155er.
Right.
And he got signed to the UFC because he was great. The division was super light. He got signed on short notice by John Dotson. And man, I said, bro, this is real. Like I now know somebody that's like it's within arm's reach. One of my best friends is in the UFC, so that's when it became real. Like that's when I knew that I could somehow get there some other way than the Ultimate Fighter, because that was kind of the Ultimate Fighter was like my only way to get there. It just seemed like the only way to get signed. You know what I mean? Like it was hard.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, when he got signed, it really hit home, and I really pushed hard from there, and I got a lot better, made a lot of strides. And then obviously with the expansion of like HDNet and Access TV, that helped me out a lot because I fought a lot for RFA and Titan, and that hit me up a little bit. And then WEC, I was an Ultimate Fighter, and then Bellator once, and then I kind of put myself out there. I did a bunch of different things.
Absolutely. What do you think about the Ultimate Fighter? Was that a good experience for you, and would you do it again, or were you one that didn't like it?
I would say that I would do it again. I would not do it over again. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like if I had to rewind, I would do it again. It's a great experience. Man, that show will make a man of you. That's for damn sure. But I would not do it over again. It's hard. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. Yeah,
it makes sense. What do you think? Yesterday was the anniversary of the first UFC, 26 years ago yesterday. Do you think do you think the way the sport was back then, no holds barred, in any semblance of it? Because I know that they had one rule set, no biting, no eye gouging in the first fight, and then a few fights later they took out the groin shots, they took out the headbutts, they took out 12-6 elbows, they took out the soccer kicks. But do you think that there was any way that it could have continued with just the original rule set, or were some of these more violent techniques were in there, or do you think that just wouldn't have caught on and people wouldn't have liked it, or I'm just curious to ask an active fighter now. Could that? No,
it's too rough.
Yeah,
it was too rough. It's not made. It needs like, and they talk about this. And like they just did Chuck and Tito's 30 for 30. They talk about this a lot. They did like the anniversary show. They pushed towards the to get it regulated, the regulation of it, and that's really what it took. I think to get rid of like the barbaric make it a sport, not a fight, if that makes sense. And I know we're dealing with fighting, but I think some of the stuff is just too. They would have gotten to the point that it is now on like mainstream TV. They ESPN or Fox or any of that. There's no way in hell that they would have put that stuff on there. So I think what they did is the best move that they could have done. Got it regulated, and it kind of toned it down a little bit to the point where they can at least start putting it on TV and people want to watch it from a mainstream.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember they used to have a viewer advisory on, remember that, the black and white? Yep. And I remember Bruce Beck said, this is not an exhibition. This is real, brutal combat. If you you're not having a strong stomach, you might not want to watch. And yeah, it was definitely crazy stuff. You know, one thing that I never knew for quite a while is that if you remember the first fight that John McCarthy, the first card that Big John reffed, was UFC 2, and he kept on yelling to the different corners, watch your fighter, watch your fighter. The reason why is that Rorion Gracie, who was you know, a friend of his, had said, you are not allowed to stop the fight for any reason. And so he really was like, and he didn't like that experience because he saw some things not go that well, and he had to keep on yelling to the corner, watch your fighter, watch your fighter. And the corner was like, I'm watching him. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to throw the towel in. I'm watching him, you know. And so after that fight is when John McCarthy kind of negotiated and said, I can't do that again. It can't be that I can't be here to protect the fighters. I have to be here to protect the fighters. And that's something that is important. As a referee, they have such a hard job. Do you feel that most of the referees are doing a really good job and it's just a harder job than a lot of fans think? Or what's your thought on you know, being a big-time MMA referee and how most of them are doing, and you know, what about the heat that a lot of them are taking?
Yeah, I mean, it is a difficult job, no doubt, because you got to make decisions. We're not talking about stuff where, like in NFL, they have the booth upstairs that reviews every play. It's not like that. There's one guy making the decisions. And whenever I think of a good referee, the guy that pops into mind is Herzog. Jason Herzog is my favorite referee. Cool. And I think the characteristics that he has that I really like is he's not part of the show. You know what I mean? Very rarely do you hear, you know, he stays out of the way. He's not the show. He's the referee, and he's there to referee. And I feel like some of the other guys want to be part of the show. Yeah. You know, and I don't like that, because that's not what you're there for. You're not part of the show. You're there to do a job. And so the best referees, in my opinion, are ones you really don't hear from a lot. You don't see a lot of them because they stay out of the way and they let fighters fight. You know, if there's rules broken, they step in when they need to. But for the most part, they stay out of their way and they let people fight, because that's what, you know, really that's what. Just like, you're not part of the show. You're not part of the feature presentation. So, and I feel like some of the guys I feel like some of the guys try to be a part of that rather than stay back and do their job.
Understood. Very good observation. What do you think also about the fights being stopped? Obviously, the biggest thing on most people's minds is the BMF belt, Nate Diaz against Jorge Masvidal. I think a lot of people didn't see during that fight that not only did Nate have a big cut on the top of his eye, I'm pointing there, and then below his eye as well, so above and below, which is definitely not good when you start getting you know, something digging in both areas, because possibly your eye could fall out. But what did you think? Could I get your opinion on that? Because so many fans were so upset because Nate was saying, I'm ready. And then afterward, Nate said, my plan was in the 4th and 5th rounds, I was going to start coming on stronger and taking over. You know, who knows whether that's you know, would have happened or not. But was that an okay stoppage? Did the doctor do the right thing there? Or in that situation, would you as a fighter rather, if it was you know, let it go?
That's hard for me to say because I didn't see the inside of the cut. I will say this: it did not seem to be impairing his vision at all, and I don't think it was a good stoppage. I've seen way worse cuts go on. Yeah. But I didn't see it. They really didn't zoom in on it that much. It didn't seem like it was that bad. I mean, really, the cut, unless it's just crazy deep, the cut is nothing, right? It's more about vision impairment than anything. His vision was fine. The blood seemed like maybe a little bit, but not to the point of where it was like a huge problem. So that seemed like it was a little bit of a iffy stoppage. I can't say that though because I didn't see the cut.
Right.
I will, however, say I don't think it would have made a difference. I mean, I think there was. I mean, it was on what was happening, and I don't think the 4th or 5th round would have been any different.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's funny because someone had said that the doctor wasn't supposed to be able to just stop it, but I think the doctor does have the ability to just stop it.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's wasn't the referee in that case at all. But yeah, as far as referees, they do have a hard job, and it seems like you're always too soon or too late as far as a referee in most people's opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Unless it's terrible, it's hard to argue those. You know what I mean? I would rather be on the end of just a shade late than early. You know what I mean? Because you see a lot of guys that fight back and win.
Yeah.
And also with that, you're concerned with fighter safety. I mean, for the most part, I think they do a good job.
Yeah, makes sense. Let me get your opinion on a few upcoming fights, since I know you're a student of the game, if that's all right with you.
Sure.
Appreciate that. So in your division, you have the title fight, Covington and Iseman. And that's a really interesting one. Both are really, really good wrestlers, and both obviously don't like each other, and they're both really winning fighters, both in their prime. How do you see that fight playing out? I mean, so many people think it's going to be a dull fight where neither of them are going to try a takedown, and they're both going to be, you know, doing some not great striking the whole time. I don't know. I kind of think that it will be exciting, but can you share any insight as a high-level UFC fighter from what you've seen about these two men? Anything that maybe we should look out for as fans or as journalists that people might not be thinking about in that matchup?
There's a part of me that wants to tell you that I don't think Usman's going to lose a round. And then there's another part of me that, man, Covington has pushed such a relentless pace. All that being said, I'm gonna go Usman. I think Usman's gonna win. I think he's gonna be predominant too. I do think he's gonna be able to stop the takedown. I think Colby's gonna be shooting. I don't think Usman will be though.
Yeah.
I think Usman's a far superior wrestler. The only thing that Colby has going for him is that pace.
Yeah.
I think his pace is insane.
Yeah.
So I don't see him winning the first 2, 3. I mean, I just don't think I think Usman's too much, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and speaking about rounds, the main event with Zabit Magomedsharipov and Calvin Kattar went 3 rounds. Do you have any opinions on that? I actually put a post up on social media asking what people thought about that. To me, if a main event's supposed to be 5 rounds, then that means a main event's supposed to be 5 rounds. And I'd say probably 80% of the people replied to my poll agreeing with me. But there were about 20% of people that said, well, no, in this situation, they had been scheduled to be the co-main, and the main fell out, right? And the contract they signed only agreed to 3 rounds, and apparently the UFC had spoken with both of them, and Kattar said 5 was fine, but Magomedsharipov had staph infections, and he said, no, I'm barely going to be able to do this at 3. Do you think in a situation like that it makes sense, or do you think when someone's bumped to being the main event, the UFC should be able to say, dude, you're fighting 5 rounds and that's it?
Yeah, you got to pay him for it, though. You know what I mean? Like, you're fighting almost double time. It's like almost 2 fights in one night. So as long as you're getting paid for it, I'm down with it.
That makes sense. So they would need to increase the pay. That's a good idea. And if they did that,
yeah, absolutely.
And if it were you, would you want to be given the choice, or as long as they increased your pay, would you be okay if they could insist you fight 5? Because that's what I think some people are wondering about.
The longer the fight goes, the longer the fight goes for me, my value goes up. So I'm for sure going to pick 5 over 3 as long as you compensate me for it.
I like that. Makes sense. Next fighter pick. Want to ask your opinion on that UFC 245 card. Max Holloway against Alex Volkanovski. There's about a 5-inch height difference in that matchup, and I think that's a really interesting one because Max Holloway is just a beast, and Volkanovski has really been killing it. What do you think in that matchup? How does that go down?
I'm gonna go Max, but I think it's gonna be a really competitive fight, man. I really do. He's good at closing that gap, pressuring. I think Max is going to be able to keep range, keep volume. I think it'll be a very competitive fight. I don't think it's going to be a shutout. But I do think Max is going to get the win.
Yeah, you could be right. I think it's going to be a great matchup, too. Volkanovski impresses me a lot. And then the final matchup, the ladies. Am I the only one that feels that Germaine de Randamie has a chance in that? I'm starting to feel that I'm the only one that feels that way. But what are your thoughts?
No, not at all. I just had this conversation today. I said I think Nunes is still going to win. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I think that fight is I think de Randamie is going to make that very, very interesting. I don't think it's going to be a shutout at all. I think it's a very competitive fight. The last time I checked, they had de Randamie at like plus 260 odds.
Yeah.
I think that's way undervalued. And I think it's going to be very competitive. I still do have Nunes winning, but I think de Randamie is going to bring some heat.
Yeah, I agree. I think if Nunes wants to give de Randamie space to strike, and de Randamie being an 8-time Muay Thai champion, then that's going to be something that de Randamie is absolutely going to take advantage of. She's a little bit of a longer fighter, and you know, definitely her Muay Thai is better. But yeah, Amanda's tough being the double champ. It's ironic because if de Randamie takes that title, Amanda is still the 145 champ. So, you know, I guess that's kind of one of the best consolation prizes, that if you get beaten in a fight and you're the champ, you get to go home with a belt still. So it makes it not that bad, right? Although I'm sure she wants both, right? Well, man, I'm excited to see your fight coming up Saturday, and it is against Sergio Moraes. What are you, number 5 or 4 fight, or number 6? Do you know what order they're going to be in?
7, I think.
Number 7, cool. It's going to be awesome.
I'm thinking 7.
That's going to be awesome, man. Well, I really look forward to another great performance from the James Krause representing Glory MMA. You guys are killing it, and I want to thank you so much for spending your time here at night in Brazil, joining us in the MMA Power Hour. Let people know real quick how they can support you on social media.
It's pretty much the James Krause on all of them: Facebook, Instagram. I'm active on Instagram most. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
And fantastic. Anything else you want to say? Anything you want to throw out there in the last couple seconds?
No, I appreciate you for having me on.
My pleasure, James. Go do what you do, man. We'll be cheering for you.
Thanks.
No problem, brother. Have a great night. And that was the James Krause. Very cool guy. Very thoughtful, well thought out type of a guy, isn't he, Adam?
Yeah, he's put tons of thought into this fight game, and I like watching him rise, actually, just hearing him speak and knowing more that I didn't realize he was friends with Cummings over there, so he probably rolls around with a lot of the people that I know back in Missouri.
That's right.
So I'm by default a new fan, James.
Yeah,
thank you so much for coming on. Real quick, I want to give CrossTrainMMAfighter.com a shout out. You can go on over there, get some awesome t-shirts. They actually supply our MMA Power Hour t-shirts. If you want one of those, contact us, and we'll get you set up with 1 or 2 or 3 or 100 if you want them.
Absolutely.
Want to give a huge thank you also to the Hannibal TV for everybody that is not catching this on Fight TV. Obviously, you're on the Hannibal TV, but if you're on Fight TV, get on over to YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to the Hannibal TV. Go ahead and give us a view for replays. You can do that here on Fight TV too, whatever, but we could use all the help with likes, comments, and shares. Get on over to our Facebook page and all of our social media that goes across the top of the screen. That being said, everything that comes across the top of our screen, you see right now, just going in there, make sure to check out Combat Press at combatpress.com, where every fight has a story. They are the #1 resource for me and the news that I get with all things MMA related and combat sports, even with kickboxing and Muay Thai and every other combat sport. I'm utilizing them for the knowledge that I've gained over the last couple of years. I fell behind and was able to catch back up real quickly there. Also, go on over to newupro.com and get yourself some amazing CBD products. Go ahead and hit Colin up. Go through him to buy it.
Yes.
It helps our show out when you do that. So hit him up on social media. It's just Colin Crandall. You see his name right there. Make sure to hit him up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever. He will be able to know that you're there. He's on all of the platforms because I make him do it.
Yes, and it's worked out great. So I thank you so much for the push, Dr. Adam Rorta. Social media took me a minute, but now I'm loving it. And as far as as far as helping it for our MMA show.
I don't want to throw you under the bus for your age, man. You do an amazing job. I'm not gonna lie. I get irritated with you sometimes, but you're not. You do so well compared to most people.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I have people that don't understand how to open up a window of any sort on a computer, and it's just like, hey, Colin, no, you gotta look for this. And you're like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? It's there, Colin.
And
then you find it.
Yep. Thank you. I really appreciate that, Adam. It means a lot.
So our next guest is right away.
Yep. He is 3 minutes from now is the call time, but we can start.
Oh no, I'm not ready yet. 3 minutes is perfect, so we will get that done.
Gotcha. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at some great fights here in Brazil, as the great arena announcer Lenny Hart, who was on our show a year ago, said, doing the Pride and doing the Ryzen and doing whatever the best shows were. She used to announce with making the show even more exciting. So if you guys want to check out
her voice, man, it's something else.
Awesome. She is the legend. And I think I wrote once to her, you were the best at what you did. And then she said, best at what I used it. I said, no, not. And I said, of course you still are, because she's still doing it. So she was asking if I meant she used to be the best. And I said, you are still the best. And she is. So anyway, Lenny Hart, check her out. LENNEHARDT, the best arena MMA fight announcer in history. So anyway,
absolutely,
had to throw that out
there.
Hey,
real quick here, I want to make an announcement to everybody out there. If you haven't seen it, we are partnering up with the amazing production company, which actually I'm involved with as well. So obviously we're partnering up. Mindstrom, check them out. We will be bringing you a much higher quality production here in the near future. Not to say this isn't high quality, because it's as high quality as you're gonna get with a home studio. But we are gonna be up in the game a little bit for everybody. Hopefully be able to get guests in studio with us and sit down. We cannot do this without your help, so make sure to give likes, comments, and shares.
Yes,
seriously,
please.
That's what's going to make it happen, so that we can have guests in studio with us. That's what's going to make it so that we can have some awesome fight clips going up when we're talking about them. That's what makes it so that we can have a lot more interactive interface here for you guys to go ahead and just get yourself involved with our show.
Absolutely.
I cannot urge you enough. Go ahead, give us likes, comments, and shares. It'll make the show so much more exciting.
Yes.
Not that it's not already, because Colin, you do an amazing job.
Thank you, Adam. I appreciate it. So get ready to blow your Mindstrom with Mindstrom. That's maybe their slogan, or at least it's
nah, it's not.
It can be, it might be, but it's a great organization. You'll see, and then all the likes, shares, and everything would be much appreciated. So we are going to get our next guest out of here.
Our next show is not going to be going on for another week, but our next guest, I'm gonna
let's rock and roll. Let's get that Skype dance going. Hey Edmund, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Excellent. So all we got to do is have you press that button that looks like the old camera with a line through it, and we'll have video, and then we can get everything rocking. And definitely appreciate you jumping on. Excited to talk to you. I'll tell you when I see that come through. Sometimes there's a couple second delay, and nothing as of yet. Let's see if we can. There you go, right there. Excellent. So you're not seeing excellent. So you're not seeing us, but you will see yourself in the square. And then after the show is over, should you choose to check it out, you'll see great split screens, picture within picture, everything's good. But for here, we will be able to see you. And let me give you a proper introduction before we throw this video on the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to have this next guest. He is one of the hottest, youngest UFC prospects out there at 21 years old. The man has a record of 11-0, undefeated, 4-0 in the UFC, 3 fights won inside the distance. Out of 11 fights, 10 of his fights won inside the distance. We're talking about the super exciting UFC fighter from Glendale, California, Mr. Edmend Shahbazyan. Welcome to the show, Edmund.
What's up, guys? Thank you guys for having me.
My pleasure, man. It's really great to talk to you. I've heard so many great things about you. I've seen so many great things from you. We both know the legend Judo Gene LaBelle, and he's a friend of mine, and you are one of the more exciting fighters that he follows, and he tuned in just to see your fight in Madison Square Garden. Actually, he may have stayed to watch the main event. I don't know. I can't speak for him, but he was really most concerned about watching the Edmend Shahbazyan fight, and this man is the godfather of MMA. So that says something right there. You're from a great team that had the awesome Ronda Rousey and just a bunch of great people. And so you are 21 years old, man. I got to ask you, you're like ahead of schedule for most people in their life, right? At 21, most people are still trying to figure out what they might want to do, you know, with their life. And here you are at 21 fighting in the UFC. Did you expect things would go this quick, or what was your thought when you first got into training and thinking about fighting for a career, and when was that?
Actually, when I first started training, there was I didn't think of like fighting or anything like that. My brother and I started, I was 10 years old, he was 12. We started with Shotokan karate. We were doing that and going to swimming classes because I was a chubby kid. I just wanted to go and lose weight. And, you know, we started, and then like we were in a couple of years, and then by like 12 years old, I started competing. I did my first competition for no-gi grappling at like 12 years old or 11 years old, one of those. And then after that tournament, I remember we both placed first. My brother and I both placed first in that tournament. And I don't know, I think it was after that we like kind of like fell in love with it, and like we wanted to start adding the boxing, the kickboxing, the wrestling, like everything that combines for MMA. And then we were playing the UFC video game a lot. We loved it, and you know, from a young age, like I would say from that age, like 12 years old, I was dreaming of fighting in the UFC and, you know, being up there. And I got my chance to get my contract at 20 years old on the Contender Series. You know, I got the first round win, signed with the UFC at 20 years old, and made my debut at 21. So it's been an incredible journey, and I'm blessed. You know, where I'm at, and I just want to keep improving and keep getting better and reach the top. The first was to get to UFC. That was the dream. But you know, I like to dream big all the time. So once I got into the UFC, now it's to be the youngest champion, be the world champion. You know, and that's what we're going for.
I like that. Well, you always come in with a big smile on your face. You've got this great attitude, easygoing young guy, man. You seem to have like a maturity and like be very well centered for someone your age. I mean, there's a lot of people that get success and opportunities like this when they're really young like you, that end up having a real big chip on their shoulder, or real arrogant, or real kind of, you know, just not a good attitude. And you seem to have stayed really centered and humble. How do you do that, man?
I think it's the first of all, the way I was raised, you know, with my family, and second, like when I have a goal in mind, I don't let things get in front of me, you know. I've said that from a young age too. Like I have a goal to be the best, to be the champion, and I can't let like stuff on the side get to me, you know. I have to stay tunnel vision towards that goal, you know. I can't have distractions, and I think that helps me a lot. And just keeping my discipline every time I'm in camp or off camp. I've never drank in my life, you know.
Nice.
I never smoked, so I keep a strict discipline on that. And yeah, I believe it's that separates it.
Absolutely, a healthy lifestyle is important. Well, let's look at this record, man. This is amazing. Only one guy has gone the distance with you, and that was in your first UFC fight, and that was Darren Stewart, who's really been killing it himself. So it's kind of ironic. Do you ever think that one day you may see Darren Stewart again?
If he works his way up, yeah, probably. But that fight, you know, was my first UFC debut. I fought the guy. I turned 21. He had like 6 or 7 UFC fights, and I don't know why it wasn't even a split decision. You know, I thought I beat the guy unanimously, but I changed my game plan for that fight. You know, I wanted to wrestle that fight. I showed a different side of me that people didn't know about, you know, my wrestling aspect. Of course, I got the octagon jitters at the end. I was tired, you know, I had an adrenaline dump, but, you know, I still managed to stay in there and pull through and managed to even get a takedown at the last second of the fight. But that being said, you know, it was my first UFC fight, and I just wanted to show a different part of my game, you know. Had I gone striking with them from the beginning, you know, I think I would have put an end to that fight earlier. But, you know, we were trying new things out, you know. I'm trying to be a different fighter every time, you know, and have mixed up all my aspects of MMA, because I can definitely do that. And I wanted to show that skill in that fight, and I believe I did, and people got to see a different side of me.
Absolutely, and it also gave you time to get some rounds in, because since then, no one has gone more than, what, two and a half minutes with you, each in your last 3 fights, they've been what, 1 minute, 1 minute, and 2 minutes, or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. You're starching all these guys, man, and that last opponent was no one to sneeze at. Brad Tavares is a very tough guy. Do you go in there thinking that if you do what you can, these fights could all end quick, or do you not really go in there thinking that, and you just go in there thinking it'll be what it'll be, or are you always looking for a finish?
I'm the type that's a finisher, but like I go in there thinking like this could go all the way, you know. I don't go in there going like, oh, it's gonna end early. I just go in there calm, stay focused, and do my job. You know, I know with the right shot, every opponent will go down. So I just keep my composure in there and try not to rush it. You know, I do my fight. You know, I stay calm and do my fight. No rushing, because if I rush, that's when I feel like you're trying to look for the finish. When you're calm and collected, it'll come.
Absolutely. Who were the fighters that you looked up to before you got into the UFC, or if there are any that you still do? Let us know. Were there any people that you really were or are impressed by that are UFC superstars, whether they're still there or former stars?
Well, growing up, you know, since Ronda Rousey was at our gym,
Yep.
I would definitely look up to her, and it was motivational, you know, watching her on the rise and seeing all that, the pressure, the media, and everything, how she would handle it. You know, it was amazing, and it actually motivated me to work harder and to be where I'm at. And I don't know, I like pretty much the fighters that represent like a good person, you know, like even if they're like a trash talker, this that, like the way they fight. I like for example, Conor McGregor. I like his style, the way he fights, and George St. Pierre, John Jones, like those kinds of athletes, you know, have my eye, and I loved watching them growing up.
Very cool. What do you do? What do you say to the people that are so excited about you, or that immediately they say, "Wait, you got to fight Israel Adesanya. How soon can we make that fight?" What do you say to people that like are jumping right into that right now? I'm curious.
You know, I know the position where I'm at, that's gonna happen, but you know, I'm not trying to rush anything. I'm taking it one fight at a time, and you know, sooner or later that fight will come, and I'll be ready for it. And I just right now, we just reached, I believe, the top 10, so we'll be, I guess, like 2-3 fights I'll do in the top 10, and then we'll be having that title shot. Hopefully, we'll see.
I like that.
Right now it's just about, like, you know, training smart, fighting smart, and doing everything the smart way, you know, not rushing anything.
Absolutely. That's key. That's what I like to hear, because, you know, you got to be on a track. You don't have, it doesn't have to be like boxing where they're having a hot prospect fight guys that can't fight or have losing records, and I'm glad UFC doesn't do that. But then also some people get overly excited and at 21 are trying to get someone 21 to fight the champion. And I think you're right in that there's no reason for it to be that quick. But I think after Brad Tavares, it's probably going to be top 15 guys for you, if not top 10, coming up soon. And I'm sure you're going to be down for the challenge. Your striking is good, your grappling is good, and there really isn't. I don't think there's really any areas that you feel are weaknesses in your game, are there?
No, you know, I've been training a mix of things from a young age. You know, from whether it's boxing, grappling, wrestling, you know, I combined it all as a young kid, competed in all the sports as a young kid. So I would say I'm well-rounded, you know, so I'm ready for wherever the fight goes.
Absolutely. Here's an interesting thought that I think that some people wonder. When you're training, obviously you're going to do training with good guys, but, you know, I don't think necessarily they would want to necessarily bring in like John Jones or Israel Adesanya to train with you. Not that that could happen anyway, but are you training with guys that are really competitive with you, or that are your age or your level or your size? How do you find guys to train with, and are you normally looking at it as far as just like skill level, obviously your weight and experience level, or are you training with some guys who are a lot more experienced than you or bigger?
You know, I would say both, you know, experienced and my type of experienced guys. I let all the training partners be handled by my coach, Edmund, and he brings in all the guys. He prepares all the sparrings and everything that we need to do to prepare for a fight. And definitely, I would say it's each time in practice, it's competitive in there. So I believe that helps a lot, when it's competitive. And I'm a competitive guy too. So those two together, it makes for a great practice, great sparring, and really prepares you amazingly. And we have good guys that come in that help me. So it's been good so far,
Very true. One of the things that you have on your side, being so young at 21, is you don't have as much wear and tear on your body as someone like 26 or 30 years old, right? I'm sure having done the martial arts for years, you've had your share of injuries, and just as hard as you have to train for this sport, that definitely, I'm sure, you don't feel maybe as injury-free as you did when you were 10 or 12 years old, right? But I have a feeling probably you're less injured and banged up than most of the fighters that are 26 or 28, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, definitely. Being young, I'm about to be 22 by the end of this month. So still being young, I believe our recovery process is a little bit faster than anyone who's older. And yeah, I believe that helps a lot too, even if we have like a small bruise or like where we hurt something in practice, I believe I recover a bit quicker than most. And I definitely think that's an advantage, being young. And I think there's a lot more things that come with being young. So, and being the position where I'm at, like I'm so hungry to be the best. And I believe I have so much to learn, and I'm going to keep improving and keep getting better.
Absolutely. I like that. So in any of your earlier fights, were there any fights? I know the Darren Stewart fight, you were trying something different and you had a little bit of the octagon jitters, and it was your first fight and he had several and you still won. But other than that fight, have any of your other wins been competitive where you kind of got to have some pressure put on you and where you kind of got put in some bad situations, or have really almost all of your fights been mostly you putting your opponent in bad positions?
Yeah, I believe going to every fight, there is some type of pressure, even when you think you're gonna like completely dominate. Every fight you have to think you have to dominate, but before going into any fight, there's always a bit of pressure on everybody, and I believe it's on how you handle it. And when you handle it good, everything will go good. It's just based on how you handle it when you go in there. A lot of people are like gym fighters and don't perform under the lights, but I like to think I'm a person who performs under the lights and doesn't let the pressure get to me. That's why, like, I feel relaxed in there, and I'm comfortable putting my opponents away quick. And it's all about just how you control that pressure on you. I love pressure, so it's good for me. It worked out good for me so far.
Absolutely. And your attitude and your coaching is obviously working, and it's great. The one thing I would say, I've been a lifelong martial artist, and I wasn't a professional fighter, but I've been a big fan and student of the game for many years. The one thing I would say is, just as you probably are, always prepare that just in case you don't get someone out there quick, as be prepared, that at some point someone in a fight may be slightly winning against you.
Definitely.
And you can't let that bother you, right?
Gotta prepare for all situations.
Good. That's it, because that's what it's really all about, because I think once in a while you have some sports where some fighters, boxing or kickboxing or even MMA, their first opponents are so terrible that they're fooled into thinking that they can easily beat everyone, and then as soon as they get a good guy in there, they start thinking, wait a second, what's happening? This guy's not even falling. I'm hitting him, nothing's working, and you're fighting good guys, so that's that's not the case with you. But just like I would say, always be prepared that the higher level you fight, you may have to work a little longer and you may have to get out of some bad situations, but you certainly can do it, and obviously don't let it throw you. I'm sure you're already aware of that.
Definitely.
Cool.
Absolutely.
So let me ask your opinion on a couple of some great upcoming fights. I gotta say thank you for agreeing to jump into our really popular pros pick. Ladies and gentlemen, this is thank you so much, Edmund. This is brought to you by DigiSouth, cross-trained MMA fighter, new you, Hannibal TV as well. So a lot of people helping out on this pros pick. And let me jump right into this here and find the ones that we were going to pick. There we go. Okay, so let's talk about this Saturday's fight in Brazil. The card is in Sao Paulo, headlined by Ronaldo Jacare Souza, going up from middleweight. So he's going up from your division, where he was for many years, and a big middleweight. Two light heavyweight going up against a natural light heavyweight from Poland, Jan Blachowicz. Two guys went up before, Chris Weidman and Luke Rockhold, and did not well at light heavyweight. We're wondering, can Jacare have better luck? Is this going to be a good fit for him? I'd like your opinion on the matchup, Jacare versus Blachowicz, and how you feel that fight unfolds, and what the fans should be looking at as important factors in that fight.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a great fight. You know, Jacare moving up, and Jan, of course, having a real good win against Rockhold in his last fight. I think in that fight, that's what makes the difference in that fight, is that Jan being a little more hungrier. You know, I feel like he's hungrier. You know, he just beat a guy, and like he's hot right now. You know, so I believe after beating Rockhold, that gave him good confidence. And Jacare, you know, he's gotten a little bit older. Already is moving up. I don't know. I think Jan's gonna take this one. I think on the feet he could put him away, and unless Jacare tries to take him down to the floor and submit him, which I don't think he will be able to. I think just Jan's gonna take him out, in my opinion.
Yeah, he could. Is it with the guys that I mentioned? I think probably age would have something to do with why they weren't successful, as well as maybe the size. Would you say it's maybe age and where they were in their career, or would you say the jump from 185 to 205 is a really tough jump?
I think it has a little bit of both. You know, age, of course, when you're getting older, it's you know, it's never gonna give you an advantage. Of course, it'll give you the experience advantage, but never like a physical advantage in there.
Yeah.
Because by every year, you're like, after a certain age, it starts like decreasing. You know, your
declining
physical abilities, and then also that jump is pretty big too. But they have to do it. You know, I feel like 185 might be too much of a cut already for him, since he's that old.
Yeah.
So 205 will have to be the next step for him.
Yeah.
But he's going up against a good guy, you know, right now. That just beat a good fighter in Luke Rockhold. So
absolutely,
it's going to be a tough jump up.
Yeah, absolutely. So if he can get Blachowicz down and get on top of him, then there's a good chance there. But the question is, will he be able to? A lot of people think he won't. I gotcha. All right, and then let's look at the 3 title fights coming up about a month from now in Las Vegas. UFC 245 MMA Power Hour will be there in press row covering that. And let's start with Colby Covington going up against the champ Kamaru Usman. This is one division down from you, so this is a division that I'm sure you'll never see personally, but I know you're a fan of the sport. How does that fight break down? That seems like a real interesting matchup with 2 amazing D1 wrestlers, and All-American at that, and just tough guys. What do you think? How does that fight play out? What do you think are some of the factors that maybe some of the fans may not know about that matchup?
I think it's an amazing fight too. You know, I can't wait to see that. I believe both Usman and Covington have very similar styles, in my opinion. They're both like, they box and take down, and I think it comes down to who's gonna be doing that better on fight night. You know, that style better on fight night, and in my opinion, I think Covington is gonna take it because I feel like he's a little more like aggressive and has that more grit in him, you know, to come out there and be more aggressive. So I'm taking Covington on that one. Although Usman can take it, definitely. It's like, I would say it's a 65-35.
Makes sense.
65% chance for Covington to take that, you know.
Makes sense. The odds.
But
Go ahead.
It's gonna be a great fight.
It really will. The odds makers have it the other way. They've got Usman a little bit of a favorite, not really big, but a little bit. Not to try to push you to bet, because betting definitely isn't something that's probably going to help you. You know. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting matchup too. I really think. I think there's going to be some wrestling involved. I mean, I know a lot of people think with two great wrestlers, so it's going to be a striking battle the whole time. I hope not. I think there's going to be some wrestling in there. I think it's going to be.
Yeah, I believe so.
And both guys are in their prime, so that's going to be really exciting.
Yeah,
that's
going to be interesting.
Definitely. How about the next one up? Max Holloway going up against Alexander Volkanovski. There's about a 5 or 6 inch height difference there. You tend to be kind of a taller guy for 185, but there are a bunch of tall guys for 185. Max definitely a really tall guy for 145 at like 5'11 and a half. Yeah. How do you think that fight matches up? And do you think Max's length is going to make any difference, or what do you think? That fight?
I believe so. You know, I think Max's length definitely is going to make a difference in that fight. Him being the taller fighter, he'll keep the distance well against Volkanovski. Although Volkanovski is a really good fighter, you know. I can't remember what his last win was. Was his last win against Aldo?
Yes, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
If it was, yeah, no, he looked really good in that fight. You know, really beat Aldo in there, and Aldo's a real veteran and great fighter. But Max also put away Aldo, so I think Max takes this one. I think he's more lankier. He'll keep the distance, strike him, and light him up on his feet. In my opinion, you know, the way he kind of did it to Frankie Edgar, I think that's the way the fight will go.
Yeah, it could very well be. But like you said, Volkanovski is a tough guy, tough Australian, good wrestler, good striker. He's such a short guy for that division. But you never know. Mike Tyson was a short guy. Maybe, you know, he can Mike Tyson Max. You know, we'll have to see. It'll be definitely interesting. And then last but not least, the women's title fight. You got the double champ. The champ Amanda Nunes defending her bantamweight title against the former featherweight champ Germaine de Randamie. How do you size that one up?
Another great fight. You know, I think that if it stays on the feet, it can go either way, in my opinion. You know, de Randamie is a really good striker too, and Nunes is a good striker, but from what I remember, the first fight, Nunes took down de Randamie, right?
Yeah.
And that's how she basically got the win. I mean, if she adds that, if Nunes does that, I see her getting the win. But if it's on the feet, it can go either way. So that being said, I'm favoring towards Nunes, but I'm not counting out de Randamie in there. You know, she's a good striker and definitely could still put Nunes away, or if not, beat her by points.
Yeah, absolutely. I think de Randamie has a very good chance there. I mean, Nunes, everyone probably has to pick her because she's just an amazing fighter, the champ that she is. But I think this is a live fight. Out of those 3 fights, I don't know if you knew it, but de Randamie is the biggest underdog out of those 3 fights. Yeah, and so a lot of people are just not thinking she does it. But I think, I don't know if you know this, but de Randamie has been training over at AKA, American Kickboxing. Yeah, and so she's in there with Khabib and his brothers and cousins, and with Daniel Cormier, right? So that, to me, a striker training over at AKA, that's pretty awesome. So so her takedown defense is definitely getting better, and it's probably going to even be better than we've ever seen. So if that fight stays on its feet, yeah, we could see possibly a new champ. It's hard to say. One thing I can say is that it would be ironic if de Randamie wins, because then de Randamie would have the 135 title, having previously held the 145 title. Yeah. And Amanda will be holding the 145 title. So it'd be funny. Wouldn't it be funny if they won and then immediately they got matched up for the 45 title?
That would be funny.
Yeah, because Amanda, because Amanda's saying after this fight she wants to defend her 45 title, right? So
yeah. So I don't know why didn't they do it at 45?
I'm glad you asked that. I learned, as most everyone else did, on the press conference when Amanda Nunes said that she wanted it at 45, but Germaine would not take the fight. Germaine then got on the microphone and admitted to that. And what she said was, there's really hardly any girls at 45.
Yeah.
You know, she said 35, there's a lot of good fighters, there's a lot of action, there's fights to have. fights to make.
I see.
At 45, she didn't feel there was, you know.
Yeah.
And so that that makes sense to me. But that would I think would be kind of a really cool event. You know, we're demanding to win and then immediately rematch, but at the higher weight. That would probably be a first. Yeah.
That
So,
would be. But I think it would matter like how the fight goes.
yeah. You're saying, you mean like if Jermaine easily won, they wouldn't do that? Yeah. Although you know what I think though, wouldn't you think that no matter how it goes, that that even if Amanda got blown out of there, she would maybe even more want that rematch?
That's possible too.
You know, you know, and if she has a title, it'd be interesting to see. Well,
she basically has like a safety net.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It'd be exciting. Well, Edmund, we've got only a few minutes left with you. I wanted to go over the last couple of things. I know at 21 years old, 185 is probably a good fit for you. Is it a hard cut? Is it an easy cut, or would you say it's about average?
I think it's about average. You know, it's definitely not easy. Not really that hard. I would say in the middle.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And so your future, I would say, more than likely at some point would be 205. Although I'm sure you've heard about the new weight classes that have been allowed to be implemented, but they've been allowed to be implemented for 2 years now with no major governing body or no major organization implementing them. But wouldn't you think it'd be great if 195 was in the picture? And if so, do you think you would jump to that right away or maybe somewhere down the line?
I think somewhere down the line, you know, that'll be awesome. Having a 10-pound difference would be really good, you know, because right now it's a pretty big jump.
Yeah.
But you know, whatever happens, happens. I'll be ready for it. Either that or light heavyweight. But for now, I'm good at middleweight.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of action to be had in middleweight. We may be seeing Israel Adesanya against Romero. That would be an exciting fight. Do you think that would be competitive, or do you think that'd be easy for Izzy?
I think it'll be a really good fight, competitive fight. Romero's a good wrestler and explosive striker, and Adesanya is a slick striker and very sneaky in there, you know, and that'll make for a really good fight.
Absolutely. And then Paulo Costa, we did an in-person interview with Paulo Costa. He's a tough guy. That will be an interesting fight when he's healed up from his surgery. A lot of bad blood between Adesanya and Costa. Then that would be an exciting fight. So a lot of good things going on in your division, and you're definitely a big part of it. How can people support you on social media? What's the place that you would maybe look the most to be able to answer someone's questions if they ask you something or if they want to support you?
Either Instagram or Twitter at Edmund Shabazyan. That's my at.
Sounds good. Excellent. Well, I know people will jump on there, and I want to thank you so much for your time, man. At 21 years old, most of us watching would like to switch places with you and actually be successful at 21 like you are, man. So I envy you. Yeah, no problem. But if I can't be you, then I will cheer for you because you're a great guy, and I think you got a great career. Keep your head on your shoulders. Keep doing what you do, all right, my friend?
Thank you so much. I appreciate it a lot.
You're very welcome. Great talking to you. We'll talk to you soon.
Good talking to you. All right.
Thanks. Have a great night.
You guys.
Take care. Yep. Bye-bye. And that was Edmund Shabazyan. What a cool dude. 21 years old. I mean, am I right, Adam? How awesome would it have been at 21 to have your life on track and be fighting in the biggest organization?
I'm telling you right now, if there was actually the amount of opportunity with UFC then as there is now, I might have actually been in there, but you know, they were just starting to open doors a little bit and let the outsiders in.
Yeah, and hardly anyone knew it. 14 years ago, which is when you were 21. Not sorry to throw out age, but everyone, you're still a young guy. There wasn't much attention to the sport. No. It was there, but the people weren't making money. It had just finished being blacked out on pay-per-view. Dana White and his group took over, and they were bleeding out money in those first couple of years. So yeah, no one.
Quite frankly, if I would have aspired or have that to aspire to, and I did, I just didn't know it. It wasn't big enough. I would probably have gone that route.
Because you were doing the smokers. You were doing the smokers.
I was doing the smokers, and against a lot of guys that are in there and doing it, and I was standing toe to toe with them. I don't want to say too much because some of those smokers are. I mean, they were smokers. So
yeah, that was over at what was that? Toad Holler.
Yeah. Awesome. They recorded, I would say, about 80% of the matches. Nice. None of my matches got recorded anywhere.
Oh man,
it was so. It's like what the.
Maybe they knew the other guys needed help to get the lift.
People in that world, they know it, but you know they've got some of those results up there on the Sherdog, I think.
Nice. When did Toad Holler cease to exist for fights?
I cannot remember. I do remember it getting shut down. A lot of complaints from the neighborhood. Interestingly enough, basically right down the street there was a porn shop that had a lot more issues than Toad Holler, but people had, it was just the time when everybody was having issues with the sport as a whole, and man, there were a lot of complaints that were unnecessary, but at the same time, there were a lot of fights happening in the parking lot after the official bout would go down inside. So I don't know. It might have actually, it was probably for good cause, but it's disappointing still to this day that, you know, UFC just did not have the exposure it does
back
today.
then, because people would have gone for it.
I would have, you know, I have this discussion with my girlfriend all the time, and it's like, man, I just wish I would have known more about the UFC
and what the future was.
And what the future was, because I would have put more of an effort into my fighting, and I would have stepped out. I already know because of my high school wrestling and the background in taekwondo in Iowa. If I would have had the opportunity to face guys from out of state a little more than the ones that were just coming through to face the top of the top there, I think I could have gone somewhere.
Without a doubt. Well, I believe it, and it's just timing. But, you know, fortunately, Edmund Shabazyan has great timing right now.
Yeah, I'm no Edmund Shabazyan, and I'm not claiming to have ever been. But I am saying
You're 21, you might have gone for it too.
I would have tried to be an Edmund Shabazyan. I really didn't. I really didn't try. And
understood.
Believe me, if you fight me now, I'm going to get my ass kicked.
I know that feeling. I would too. I would too, definitely. Do you know, though, Toad Holler, I'm trying to figure out, was it named because the toads were you guys fighting in the smokers and people were hollering at you? Or is it that the fans were the toads that were hollering at the fights going on?
All that showed up for fans was a bunch of toads. There were quite a few people that showed up looking like toads.
Nice.
It was in a part of town. Okay, so back in Des Moines, Iowa, it's the East Siders and South Siders, and it was on the South Side.
Nice.
And
a lot of rough and tumble toads over there.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, listen, I love all you East Siders and South Siders in Des Moines, Iowa, but we all have to admit there's a lot of toads over there.
That's what it was. So the toads were the fans showing and hollering for the fighters. I like that because we wouldn't want to think of the fighters as toads, although a toad isn't a bad creature. But,
no, not at all. So jumping right out of this, and Colin brought up a couple names here real quick. There is one that I want to shout out that we didn't get to really talk about earlier is Digi South. Hit me up if you need some social media marketing. I am part of and half partner of Digi South. We handle all social media marketing for any type of influencer, company, or in this case, a fighter. We would love to help you out. We do an excellent job. You know, we've built people up from under 10,000 followers to 1 million in just a few weeks. Legitimate marketing tactics. None of these buying views or anything like that. We just know how to consult to you and make sure we get it done right. So hit me up and I can connect you with my partner, and we can all get a nice cohesive plan together for social media marketing. Also, while we're at it, I want to give another thank you to Combat Press. You see it coming across the bottom of the screen right now, combatpress.com, where every fight has a story. The original line, where every fight has a story, comes from Combat Press. They have an amazing amount of news for
Great
all
source.
things.
Always on
all
point
things
news.
combat sports related. Some of the best rankings out there, and it's cross-promotional. Cross-promotion rankings, and there's only a few places that do it, and I would say Combat Press now, actually right now, when you go in there and look at that, I probably agree with it more than anybody else's rankings.
They're really on point, and their kickboxing ratings for years have been considered the preeminent kickboxing ratings. So the man with the beard, Rob Tatum, one of the guys running things at Combat Press. Shall I, Dr. Adam Rorda, you're just putting this up, which is great, but if you want to go back one, I
would like to start on this
lower. You want to start on that one? Let's do it. Let's start on this one. Okay, so we're going to give you a breakdown of this coming up fights as we promised in our social media advertising. Last minute replacement, Veronica Macedo is a fighter I like a lot. Very well spoken fighter, just a beautiful, classy
What is her
person.
record?
You know what? I think her record is It's got to be something like 10-5 or 10-4, something like that. She's got a good record. Where is she?
6-3-1.
Oh wow, okay, better than I thought. Yeah. So yeah, she's fought a lot of really good people, but this is a short notice fight for Veronica Macedo, who is really an impressive person. I've watched her on social media, and she just seems to really present herself well, and like a really, a really smart person. I think she speaks like 3 or 4 languages, and it's just traveled.
She probably speaks what? French, English, and
Spanish,
Portuguese.
And Spanish, not the Portuguese. I don't know, maybe though, but yeah, no, she is an amazing fighter, not Brazilian fighter. I think she's from Venezuela. And anyway, so Veronica Macedo coming in as a late replacement, going up against Ariane Lipski, who is indeed Brazilian. And this is going to be a really, really, really good fight. Look forward to seeing it happen. Both women are very, very tough. Don't know as much about Ariane Lipski, but tough woman. I'm going for Veronica Macedo. It's a big ask of Macedo to win this when you're given such short notice. And I think literally it was a week notice she was given, or 6 days or 8 days. But I think she can come in and do it.
This is a huge ask going up against Lipski. She's
powerful.
She's got a lot of power, but she comes out swinging heavy.
Yeah,
not just heavy, but a lot.
Yeah.
So when I see her stats here, I mean, she's just going to be quite the matchup for Veronica.
But if it gets to the ground, it's all Macedo. I'm telling you, Veronica is a beast on the ground. You know what?
Lipski it looks like she is too. Just doing the math. I haven't watched enough of her matches, but she is known for taking out some pretty hefty people.
Yeah,
so.
She's tough, but she's had her losses as well. If they were both given equal notice, I wouldn't say it's a big ask at all for Veronica Macedo. But on short notice of a week against someone that's had a full training camp, but I'm going to go for Veronica. I think she's just a rising star, and I think she's really come into her own here. And I'm going to go for Macedo on that. It sounds like you're going for Lipski, or are you on the fence? Or are you going to go for Macedo?
No, I'm going for Lipski.
Okay, sounds good. Next match up we have is going upward. So we're going to go Renan Barão, the former bantamweight champion, against Douglas Silva de Andrade. Tough fight, man. Renan Barão, such a great champion and looked good for. He had like 25 fights. Speaking about a 21-year-old, Edmund has had 11 fights and 4 have been in the UFC. So he only had to fight 7 fights before getting into the big show, which is cool. Renan Barão had to fight like 28 or something fights outside of the UFC. He was killing it. He was a big star, but no one knew who he was because he wasn't in the UFC. He got in probably toward the tail end of his prime, looked really good, won the title for a couple years, and then just started to go downhill and is now past his prime. I'd like to see him win this. I think he has a chance. Probably the hungrier fighter is Silva de Andrade. So if I go with my heart, I'm gonna say Renan Barão, but I don't know. I wouldn't be betting. I wouldn't be betting that fight. Not that I'm a big bettor anyway.
Yeah, my heart is for Renan, but my brain is for Silva de Andrade.
Yeah, probably so. Okay, next up.
So we've got.
All right, Worley Alves. We mentioned him to James Krause, who had just beaten him, I think a year ago or something like that in a tough fight. Worley Alves is an amazing fighter. He did win the Ultimate Fighter, I think Ultimate Fighter Brazil a while back. It's funny. I look up at his picture and he's scowling. It looks like he's scowling at me, saying, "Don't forget what I won, the Ultimate Fighter Brazil. Come on." I got it. Thank you, Worley. Randy Brown is a tough guy. This is a battle of serious contenders. Do either of them have a number next to their name? If not,
no, they do not.
Okay, well, they're both very close. This is probably going to be a contest to see who ends up hitting a number against their name. I know at one point in Worley's career, he did have a number next to his name. 13-3 against 10-3. Brazil against Jamaica. We got the Brazilian in Brazil. I'm going for that man, Worley Alves, in a tough fight, though. What do you think, Doc?
Honestly, this is a tough one, but I think if it goes to the ground, it's going to Worley. And if it stays on the feet for majority of the fight, it's going to Randy. And this is me going off the math.
Yeah.
Now Worley, I've watched enough of his. Randy, I haven't seen enough of his fights to really be able to tell you. If I were to sit here and say I knew 100% that Randy was a take him out, knock him out guy every single bout, then I'd be going for him on this 100%. But I just don't know enough about him at this point to give you an honest answer. But I think if it's to the ground, it's Worley, and if it's on the feet majority of the bout, then I think it's going to be Randy.
Yeah, look at the height on Randy for a welterweight, 6'3". That's a tall. That was almost like a lanky dude like you, kind of, pretty much, except you're just a shorter version of.
I'm a little lankier than him.
Yeah, that's true for your height and weight. But yeah, that's gonna be interesting though. Really tough fight, man. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. What I got, you got on the fence, and then I got Worley. All right, friend, going. You want to go back down lower than where you are? Or, Francisco Trinaldo, King, Bobby Green, tough fight. 2 veterans. So hard to say. The Brazilian in Brazil. Probably means Trinaldo, but Bobby Green is so tough. Let's see their recent stats here. The records are going to be similar, I think, very similar. I
think this one goes to Trinaldo. Straightforward.
Yeah,
I think
it's gonna be the King is tough. Bobby Green, he really is. Yeah, he wants to be the spoiler. You know, he wants to be the spoiler over there in Brazil.
Yeah, well, of course he wants to be the spoiler. But I don't think it's going to happen with Trinaldo. They're just too evenly matched, and I think this does come down to the crowd at the end of the day.
Yeah, which does affect the judges, definitely. That's true.
Yeah, it doesn't. And these guys are so evenly matched, like I'm saying. It's probably going to come to decision. I don't see this one being a finish.
Yeah, you want to know another interesting thing? Other than the Renan Barão fight, where he is a former champion who's kind of maybe toward the end of his career, other than that, on this card, you actually have a lot of very, very, very tough Brazilians in their prime. Not that Renan isn't tough, but he's past his prime. You've got, in the past, people have been putting on social media that a lot of people win when the UFC goes to their home country, except in Brazil, where a lot of the fighters are losing in their home country. And I think a lot of that is because they've been putting a lot of guys that are 40 years old or toward the end of their career on the cards in Brazil that are Brazilian. And it's not the coolest thing, because you're stacking cards with guys who everyone would like to see win, but end up losing. And so I have a feeling that the UFC maybe did not want to do that. And so this is an example of not doing that. This is a card where even Renan Barão, but certainly all the other Brazilians, have a very good chance of winning, I feel. So we have Ricardo Ramos, the Brazilian, against Eduardo Garagorri. Did I call Ramos correct as being the Brazilian? Let's see when that fills in. Yes, against Uruguay. And Garagorri is a tough dude, but don't think you're going to beat the Brazilian here in Brazil. Ricardo Ramos for the win.
I agree with that one.
Yep. And you know what's funny though? Garagorri's 12-0, but I think he may have had no more than 1 or 2 fights in the UFC. Yeah. So he hasn't been killing it in the UFC, but somewhere else. Okay.
Who's to say he won't be soon? But in this case, I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Second fight, though, that's the second fight is.
Yeah. So
if I go off history, the second fight is when they win. So
James Krause is going to take this fight. In reality, Sergio Moraes is a tough guy.
Oh, I didn't know we were going into them already.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought that's what you have up here.
No. I was still talking about the other two.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go. All right, let's backtrack.
It's all right. So Krause. This is going to be a tough fight. Having him just on, it's a biased opinion. He's a Missouri boy.
Yep.
From my neck of the woods. I'm going for him through and through. I do think he has not just an honest chance, he has the honest upper hand here.
I think he's the better fighter. I think he's the more experienced fighter. He's the smarter fighter. Nothing against Sergio Moraes. Being a Brazilian in Brazil, like I think James said, he's going to have to take this and dominate. Because like I said, the fans will be cheering. Nothing rigged, nothing fixed. But when fans cheer, as they will, for their countrymen, it can affect the crowd cheers, and the judges feel that something's being done, and someone's hitting harder or making scoring more points, and that can definitely sway the judges a little bit. And I think that KRAUSE will have to dominate, and I think he will. Next up, Marcus Perez, Wellington Turman. I mean, Wellington, that makes me think of beef Wellington. I went out, someone treated me once to a beef Wellington, an expensive wine, and it was at a party, I think, and a beef Wellington, expensive wine, and expensive European coffee, and tasty stuff, but my stomach can't handle all that rich stuff. The combination of something I never eat, beef Wellington, as well
beef
as
Wellington is great.
Yeah, it is, but I don't eat it that often. I don't know. And that, and then the strong wine, which I normally don't drink, and the strong coffee, which I don't drink. But nevertheless,
well, let's get back to Wellington.
Let's get back to Wellington Turman. But
and Perez
yeah,
here.
so
Turman and Perez.
beef Wellington may not be my favorite, but I'm liking Wellington Turman. I think that he's the only person I've ever heard of with the first name Wellington. Are you with me on that?
Is that why you're going for him?
Well, no, that's not. No, it isn't. He actually is a very tough guy. I believe he had a great streak going and came and lost his first fight. He looks mad at me. I'm looking at his picture here. He's like, "What are you talking about? The beef Wellington?"
Marcus looks like he's about ready to take my pants off.
Yeah, that was a weird look. These pictures we're looking at on UFC.com are very entertaining. But Wellington is saying how much more stupidity. Anyway, no, but Wellington Turman, I think, lost his first UFC fight. A lot of times people who are really talented come and that happens, and they come back and win decisively in their second fight in the UFC. So I got Wellington Turman in that fight. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yep. Next up, Charles Do Bronx Oliveira. Man, what an exciting fight that's going to be. The people are going to be screaming for Do Bronx. I don't know how many times he's been able to fight in the UFC in Brazil, but it's not very many. This may even be the first. I don't know, but I know that they are going to go crazy for him, I would think and hope. And he is an amazing fighter. He is going up against Jared Flash Gordon, and Jared Gordon is a very, very tough guy. He can definitely use a win. He wants to be the spoiler here. It's a tough fight. Look at the records. Much more experience is Charles Oliveira, ranked number 13 in the world. Got to go Oliveira here.
100%. I think he's going to take him with a submission in the first or second round.
Yeah, he's just a beast, man. Oliveira.
He's got all these showstopper submissions that he's always throwing out. So I think it's going to happen here too.
Yeah.
And I'd be surprised if it doesn't, quite frankly. It's going to be first or second round with a submission.
Yeah, probably so. Charles Oliveira, we both got it. Going up, then we have an example, unfortunately, kind of what I was saying previously, which is fighters past their prime in Brazil being put on the Brazil cards. However, all respect to Mauricio Shogun, who Shogun, I think, is like only your age or even younger, Doc. Maybe, well, it's not going to show here, but I honestly think Shogun is not the oldest guy, but he turned pro, I think, when he was 20. He's got a lot of mileage, a lot of miles on him, a lot of injuries, a lot of hard training and hard fights, but what an exciting guy. He did win his last fight out, I'm pretty sure. People are going to probably be going berserk for him.
Yeah, I mean, come on. He's beat Forrest Griffin, Chuck Liddell,
Machida,
Machida.
And he's had so many great fights. Who is he fighting against here? Paul Craig, So Paul Craig from Scotland, our good friend, Jack in here. Our good friend, clearly I know his
Chris
name.
Allen.
Nope, Chris Allen's from London.
John
Richard McElroy from Scotland. They actually train in the same gym as Paul Craig, and I think one other great Scottish fighter. But Paul Craig apparently is a really good guy. He's a character. He's got a sense of humor. He's a tough guy. His striking is okay. He's a tall, lanky guy. His jiu-jitsu is really good. Interesting matchup. You would think Paul Craig will win this fight. I think he's a slight dog, surprisingly enough. But I mean,
it doesn't surprise me. He hasn't quite beat the champions that Shogun has. So
correct, right. It depends what Shogun shows up. If Shogun shows up, Shogun's not going to be the Shogun of 10 or 15 years ago for sure. But if Shogun shows up looking as good as he looked in his last fight, he really can win this. The crowd's going to be urging him on. If he wins this, I mean, if he can win this and then retire off of 2 wins after having had 5 or 6 losses out of his previous 10 fights, it would be amazing, and it would be a great way to end your career on a couple of wins. It'd be amazing. So hard to do, I know, but I don't know. I hate to. I'm on the fence on that one. That one could go either way. I'd like to see a great fight. I know in Brazil people would go crazy. I would love to see the Brazilian win.
I think Paul Craig is gonna take it.
Yeah,
but
just being the younger, fresher guy.
Yeah, he's the younger, fresher guy. Listen, guys, if you're tuning in this Saturday to these two guys and you're looking for a stand-up, knock 'em out type fight, this is probably not the one for you to watch. It's probably going to be a grappling match. I almost guarantee it. But I don't know. It's either going to go to decision, which is unlike these guys.
Right.
But, I mean, they're both finishers.
Yeah.
So it's going to be exciting, but it's going to be almost all of their finishes have been submissions. Both of them have one finish via knockout. So
yeah, you know, the interesting thing is that Craig's game is the ground game, and I think he's a brown or a black belt, but so is Shogun. Shogun was always so good on his feet that he didn't play the ground game that often, but he does have several submissions, and he does know it really well. So it's really interesting to see what's going to happen. I think Shogun is probably going to be more confident on the feet and want to be there. But I think if it goes to the ground, I think Shogun will be far from panicking. So it's really,
I don't think it's going to be a panic. I think it's going to be. Listen, I love my grappling,
right,
so I'm going to be watching.
Yeah.
This is one for me to tune in.
That's true. There's some great back and forth grappling.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of back and forth, a lot of stuff that people probably haven't seen for a while.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be a dynamic fight. I really think it is.
It's going to be more like watching an Olympic level judo or wrestling
or high level BJJ match or something.
Yes, it's going to be up there with that, and it's going to be exciting to watch from that side of things.
Absolutely,
with some punches, so that'll be kind of nice.
Absolutely,
instead of slaps.
And is that the co-main?
No, this is the main event. Oh, that we were just talking about. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
that's the co-main.
And so only one left for us is the main. We have Jan Blachowicz, number 6 contender, against Ronaldo Jacare Souza, who was number 8 at middleweight. I don't think they're automatically making him number 8 at light heavyweight. Would you know? They're not going to rank someone who's had 0 light heavyweight fights at light heavyweight, are they?
They're making him 8.
Are you sure that's not 8 at middleweight?
They have him 8.
Interesting. So
it is
at middleweight. At
yep.
middleweight. Yep. Okay. So so we have Jacare 8th ranked at middleweight, unranked at light heavyweight, going up against the 6th ranked light heavyweight Jan Blachowicz. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think one of our guests picked Jacare and one picked Blachowicz, or did they both pick Blachowicz?
I think they both picked Blachowicz, but I think Blachowicz is one of Edmund, I think, is barely picking him.
I think you know what I think? I think he felt that if Jacare got it to the ground, then it's Jacare, but he thought that it was probably unlikely. I disagree.
I actually...
I'm with Jacare. I'm cheering for Jacare. Well, Jacare is a guy that really could have been champion, just his timing was bad. There was a couple years that he looked so good, and for whatever reason, he couldn't get a title shot. He got edged out by Yoel Romero in a fight that a lot of us thought he won. And then just started losing, and I just think that people would love to see Ronaldo Jacare Souza get some well-deserved glory on top of the glory he's had, and I have nothing against Jan Blachowicz, but I'm cheering for Jacare in this one. I think he can win it.
I think Jan is just going to take this one. I think I agree with Edmund and what he was saying on the fact that Blachowicz is coming right off that win off of Luke Rockhold. That was a huge win.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I picked Jan. Yeah, I did pick Jan on that one, but it kind of... He's been surprising me.
He's a double tough guy.
I'm not going to go... I have a hard time picking against him right now just because of that. Now, Jacare is kind of the same way just because it's hard to pick against him when he's a legend in his own right. But listen, these guys have a lot of the same stats at the end of the day, and Jacare is more or less taking his slow descent away from his prime, and Blachowicz is just starting his his tear here.
Yeah, it's a Brazilian in Brazil, though, and they are going to be really, really cheering. And I know the audience can't win a fight for someone, but I just, I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to say. Could it go? Could Jacare fail at a couple takedowns and find out that he's much less adept at the striking game, and that Blachowicz hits a lot harder than he thought and gets starched in that first round? Could that happen? Yes, it could. Do some people think so? I think odds makers have it slightly that way, but I honestly think the longer the fight goes, the more it favors Jacare, and I think Jacare is going to find some way to win this. I just, the old saying, Adam, third time's a charm. Former champions, and Jacare wasn't a champion of the UFC in middleweight, but he was in Strikeforce. So highly notable middleweights. Rockhold failed in his first fight at light heavyweight. Weidman failed at his first fight. I think the third time is a charm, and this is going to be the success. And I just think Jacare. I think Jacare, to win this fight at some point, will have to get it to the ground, maybe more than once, and I say he does that. Will it be easy? No. And I could be very wrong in this, but I'm going Jacare, and I think it's going to be a really competitive fight.
Oh, it's going to be a competitive one. These guys are matched up so well. I mean, really, when we look at it, Jan has 6 wins by knockout and 9 by submission, and Jacare has 8 wins by knockout and 14 by submission. You look at their just how many bouts or matches they've had. They're both finishers, but it's such similar stats.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, I think it's going to boil down to Jan coming off that hot win off of Luke Rockhold, and it's hard for me to see Jacare coming up. Yes, he is going to have a little bit of a I'm feeling better advantage because he's going up in weight. But it's not a huge weight cut for Blachowicz here either. So
yeah, well, not that we know of. I mean, you're right. He's never missed weight, I don't think, and he's not been ever pointed out as a huge light heavyweight. But I don't know that he's a small light heavyweight. But no, I think that's a weight that he doesn't have issues with, and he's going up against a man coming up in weight. We'll have to see. Man, is there a Brazilian in every fight? Not that we don't have too much time, I know, left.
I believe there was one fight that there wasn't.
Let's see. So there's one. Can we go roll?
I mean, you almost have to down in Brazil.
Yeah,
I mean,
let's
it's just
see.
the way they are.
Okay, 2, 3. They got to be both of those. Could be
yep,
1, 4, 5. 5 with Turman.
So main card, absolutely.
Main card 5 out of 5, and then prelims.
Stay out to do.
Let's see.
It doesn't want to give it to
All right.
me. Okay,
no,
1.
Oh yeah, there we go. That's
2,
6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
yep.
11, 12. Yeah, there's a Brazilian.
100%.
Yep, there's a Brazilian in every fight this Saturday. Wouldn't it be interesting if a gambler decided to bet on all 12? We wouldn't want him to bet against James Krause. But wouldn't it be interesting if a gambler decided to bet on 11 out of the 12, or even all 12, and see how they did? I'm gonna throw it out here. I think, and I remember a buddy of mine used to love to bet on something like this in different countries, how many of the local guys are gonna win. So I'm gonna say that at least 8 Brazilians win in Brazil on Saturday.
I would say 9.
You got 9?
Okay. I got 9.
Right.
I just KRAUSE and Blachowicz. I got both of them to take the win.
Right, and then Hannibal might lose also.
And Hannibal losing, absolutely.
So and then you got all the 9 other ones winning. Gotcha. I got Macedo winning though, which would mean why I would have 8. So I have all 8 Brazilians winning, except for the girl Lipski that I think loses to Macedo. I think Moraes loses to KRAUSE. I think. Wait, no, I think.
No. We got it. Anyway, hey, Colin.
Good enough.
You know what?
Go Brazil, yes.
Tonight's been an amazing show. I want to go ahead and thank Edmund and James both for hopping in tonight, making time for us on a short notice, actually.
Yes.
We are booking up rather quickly over the next few weeks coming into the holidays. A lot of people want to get in there. We do have some former guests we're going to try to bring on that I do know have some big fights coming up. We want to reach out to, I don't know, Colin, if you want to reach out to Curtis, but let's maybe bring him back on. Do we have next week booked up already?
We have someone, but I want to make sure to solidify it, and we're talking to several people, so I can't shout that out now.
Well, I want to go ahead and say thank you to everybody who's tuned in via Fight TV tonight. Make sure to drop us some questions, whatever, on our chat here on Fight TV. We do go back and check. And then also make sure to give it a share. If you are watching on the Hannibal TV, make sure to go on over to the Fight TV app. If you're on Fight TV, make sure to go on over to YouTube and like us on the Hannibal TV. You see it coming right across the screen right now, down at the bottom. Colin's pointing right at it. And we will interact with you over there as much as we possibly can. We appreciate everything sincerely with the likes, comments, and shares. It really is what's pushing us over the edge. You guys have been so supportive historically, and I just couldn't ask for more, but I'm going to ask for more.
I like it.
So thank you guys. Colin, thank you for another great episode.
You're very welcome. Dr. Adam Rhoda, thank you for your contribution. As always, invaluable. Ladies and gentlemen, great show coming up next week. So much greatness we hope to be throwing your way, or at least close to greatness. And hope you enjoyed tonight's show. Any thoughts, let us know. Any questions you have, happy to jump in and answer whenever we can. Hit us up. And if it takes a little while to get back to you, forgive us. Things sometimes be hectic and crazy. But anyway, wanted to thank you all in order of appearance, James KRAUSE, and also Edmund Shabazzian. Thank you both so much, brothers. Really appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you guys continue on your great career. So all I'm going to say is it's a cold winter. Go out there and spread the love in a positive way. Be that guy, be that girl. It'll come back to you a million times over. Take good care of your family, your friends, and your pets. And let someone know you got their back. That's about it. So we'll do it from here. Spread the love, and we love you all a lot. Thanks so much for the entire team at the MMA Power Hour. I'm Colin Crandall, and I'm tapping out.